Okay, so Ashley Robinson is our speaker tonight, and she's the waste management educator for the City of Greensboro. And I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for her after her talk. But the interesting thing is, the fascinating thing is that one of her jobs before coming here for 10 years, she was a dolphin trainer in Monterey, California.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that could be a whole other program because we could certainly connect it with environment, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, as fascinating as that is, tonight we're going to have to try to stick with the waste management subject. Okay, does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about how she managed dolphin waste.
Yeah. Right, we could, but maybe that's another topic. All right, well, Ashley, let's hear what you have to say.
All right, well, thank you everybody for letting me be here with you guys today. I'm really excited. Like I said, my kids might barge in at any moment, so we're just gonna cross our fingers. It's nice and smooth. So I want to kind of start with a little visualization with you, ladies. Looks like it's mostly ladies. Or, yeah. And I want you to kind of picture your favorite place in the world. Like if you could go somewhere on vacation right now, what would it be? And where, like, what would it look like? And what do you see and how do you feel? So for me, I'm from California, so we would go to Hawaii a lot, and that's like one of my happy places. And so I go to Hawaii in my mind. I have the nice clean beaches, clear water, the warm sun on me. But what I don't picture are the cigarette butts that are in the sand and the trash can that's overflowing and the garbage that I'll see in the water, in the coral while I'm snorkeling or scuba diving. So when we picture our world, when we picture what we want, we usually picture it pretty perfect. We don't have a lot of garbage in our view. But that's not reality, right? When we look around, when we do things, we see a lot of garbage. We see a ton of it everywhere. And how do we curb this problem? What do we do? Because in honesty and in reality, you know, we're all adults, and so many of us probably have a regret or something that you think of, right? That like chews on you a little bit and things that you worry about. But how many of you think about the garbage that you threw away yesterday? How many people in this meeting actually think like, oh, I wish I hadn't have thrown that paper towel away. Like, oh, that was really wasteful. Like, oh man. And you like think about it and you stew on it and you feel bad because we always say, throw that away, right? Like, I'm done with this aluminum. I'm just gonna throw it away. But we don't think about, and we don't talk enough about where away is, right? So away is our garbage can for us. Then it goes, then we take our garbage out, we take it to the cart, and then we take the cart out to the street, and then the garbage truck comes and takes it. And especially once it's out of in that cart, we don't think about it anymore, right? But what if your garbage gets out? What if your garbage falls out of the truck and is on the ground, and then it makes its way to a stream, and then it's polluting the stream? So we like to talk about accountability as well. Where does our accountability start, and where does our accountability end? When we buy something from the grocery store and we make that garbage, is it our responsibility that it gets to where it needs to go properly? Or once the city takes it and has it in its truck, is it the city's responsibility now? They didn't produce the garbage though, so is it your responsibility still? Is it the manufacturer's responsibility, who you bought it from? So we don't think a lot about these things on a daily basis, right? Like all of the garbage that you guys have ever created is still here in a landfill somewhere. So we create landfills to put our waste in, but they're not meant to break down. So it's not like you're sending all of the boxes that you've ever, or paper that you've ever sent to a landfill and it's breaking down and becoming earth again. A landfill is a giant garbage bag, and it's not meant to break down. There's no oxygen in the landfill for it to like decompose and make earth, and it's not composting when we're sending something to the landfill. So our big issue is that we just have too much stuff, right? We want to buy things when we want to buy them, and we want them fast. We want to eat. Let's go grab some McDonald's. Let's get some Chick-fil-A. I have 2 kids. I'm like, yep, let's go grab something to eat. I don't like cooking. That is not my thing. And so what do we, we just want things, and we're creating so much garbage. And how do we stop this problem? So we talked a lot about recycling. That's what I am going over today. What I want to point out is that recycling is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. Okay. It's something that we can all easily do because we can do it right there in our home. We don't really have to do much work. We don't have to change the way that we're buying. We don't have to say no to things. So we want to recycle correctly, but we also want to try to start thinking about ways that we can actually reduce the amount of garbage that you're sending to the cart every week, right? That we're sending to the landfill. Okay, we want to start thinking about things that we could do. So on that lovely note, let's start talking about things that are recyclable. So during my presentation, I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to call a MRF. So a MRF is a recycling center. It's a materials recovery facility, that's what it's called in the industry. And what we do is we send all of our recyclables to a MRF, and they get sorted and processed and baled into kind of like something that's kind of twice the size of like a hay bale, compressed and then sold to somebody who wants to buy something. So what's important to know is that recycling is very localized. Just because something has a recycling symbol on it and can potentially be made into something new doesn't mean that everybody wants to buy that product and make it something new. So just because something has the ability to become something new doesn't mean that anybody wants to buy it. So it's important to try to support companies that use recycled products in their packaging and in their products so that we can drive the recycling industry to give things another life after they've been made out of virgin products. So everything goes to the MRF, and it's kind of sorted in two different things. It's sorted in 2D, so like paper, cardboard, and that's why we like our boxes broken down, and then 3D, so things that have a shape. So 2D paper kind of floats and goes up. It's a very magical process, and all the containers and things that have like a 3D go down, okay? And then they're sorted, then they get sorted magically as well into plastic, all different types of plastic, and metal. So the first thing that we can recycle in Greensboro is our paper and our cardboard. So paper is going to include, paper bags. Those are great. If you do have to choose between a plastic bag and a paper bag, I would suggest using a paper bag. A lot of people will use plastic bags to reuse in like a garbage can or to pick up dog poop, which is fine. That's also another way to reduce our amount of our waste, right? Is to reuse something. We can also recycle boxes. This is an Eggo box, so food boxes. There's a lot of shopping online now, so anything that comes to you online. Newspapers are a great one, so we recycle our newspapers. Just regular paper, mailing, anything that comes in the mail basically can be recycled. Magazines, I don't have a magazine with me. And then of course, my favorite, we get this question a lot, is the pizza box recyclable? So we say it is recyclable unless when you open it up, if there's like a ton of cheese on here, then that's not going to be. But what you can do, and what people haven't really thought about, is you can rip off the top and recycle the top of it at least and throw the bottom away. If it's just got like a palm size of oil on it, that's okay. That's not going to hurt anything. So that kind of contamination is okay. So boxes are great. Pizza box, I mean, you get to eat a pizza and then recycle the product. It's great. So some of the things that we get a lot that aren't recyclable And this is where people start like, oh, I had no idea. And you guys can speak up anytime too, if you want. So the first thing is a paper plate. So a lot of people think paper, basically if anything has paper in the name, like, or cardboard, they think it's recyclable. So paper plates are not recyclable. They have a coating on them that does not allow like food and stuff to seep through it. Same with a cup, right? If anybody goes to Starbucks, if anybody gets a nice warm drink somewhere, this also has a plastic liner. I have tried, this has been a really hard experiment. So I'm going to see. So if you can see, this has a liner in it. You can't really see my finger very well. Let me see here. You can see the red top a little bit. So it's stopping, but there's something there. So there's a plastic liner in this cup that most people don't see. And so it's really hard to recycle these kinds of things because they have a liner that we are unaware of. Because you would never take this hot drink, right, and pour it into this pizza box, right? And we wouldn't do that because we would know that it would like get soggy and it would start running through. So basically at this point in time in Greensboro, this could change, subject to change. At this point in time, anything that holds a liquid cannot be recycled. That's going to include cartons like this, and they're just multi-layered. So it's a bigger process. They have to like separate all of the layers that are in it, and it's just something that people don't want to do. It's cheaper just to buy virgin products at that point. So anything that has a liquid in it, in cardboard, is not going to be recyclable.
Wow.
And then here's one that we'd cut open, that my coworker cut open, and you can kind of see there's like a little metal liner in here. So some cartons do have those kind of liners, but there is something holding in the in the liquid. And on this one, it does say, please recycle. So it happens to a lot of, and this could be recyclable somewhere. I'm from California, and they probably recycle these. They recycle a lot more than we do here. Whether or not all of that actually gets recycled, I am unaware. But there are people who will buy these. We just don't have anybody around here that will buy them. So it's not recyclable. So those are the biggest things. Oh, and napkins and paper towels, those kind of tissues, toilet paper, all not recyclable. So paper in general can be recycled 5 to 7 times before it becomes something that can't be recycled anymore. Paper and plastic both get downcycled. So downcycling is, if you take plastic, right, this plastic bottle, it's super, like I'm trying to squeeze it, it doesn't squeeze very well. It's super strong. Then when it gets recycled, it becomes a weaker, right? Just like this cardboard box, right? Harder. And this cardboard box, let's say, could become a paper bag. They're all brown. Let's do all the brown things. So this is not nearly as hard as the cardboard. And then this could get recycled and become a napkin. So as it gets recycled, the fibers are really long, and then the fibers on paper get shorter and shorter. And then think about what we do with like napkins or paper towels or tissue paper. We don't want to think about what we do with toilet paper. That's just out. But if you take a napkin or a paper towel, you know, if you blow your nose, like, do you want that recycled into something else? It's contaminated with body stuff, or they've got a whole bunch of food on them, and we don't want to recycle those. So those are the biggest paper things that we find in our recycling in Greensboro that can't be recycled. Paper towels, the cartons are a big one, cups, and paper plates. Does anybody have a question on paper? Okay, I'll keep going. The next one is my favorite category because it's the easiest one to explain, and that is metal food and drink cans. Super easy, okay? That's the only metal that we want. It has to be food grade metal food and drink cans. So what is so special about metal is that it is infinitely recyclable. So it can just keep going time after time after time. So the cans that you guys drank out of when you were younger, could still be in, if they're getting recycled, they could still be in production today, 100%. The cans that I use, my kids could use, my grandkids could use. So it's really a great product. So when you can find things that are in aluminum, then you can recycle them forever and ever instead of using plastic. Really, anytime that you can switch out plastic, it's usually a better plan. I'm sorry, I got a kind of a dry throat right now. So it's just metal food and drink cans. The recycling that we find, let me see if I can show you what's happening behind me. It's blasted all over. She has a question, but she's not actually speaking out loud. So the stuff that we find in metal that actually isn't recyclable is foil and aluminum, like pots, like tins like this, okay? So I've learned recently that all aluminum is not created equal. Wah, wah, wah. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I have been recycling my aluminum up until pretty recently because I thought, the only reason they don't want it is because it's contaminated. And I know mine's not contaminated, so I'm gonna recycle mine. And then on one of our tours of the recycling center, we saw them pulling out all the foil. And I was like, oh no, I'm the problem. It's me, I'm the problem. And so I have since stopped. But these are the biggest ones that we get that cannot be recycled. And they are usually contaminated. And it has to do with like their melting point. So they melt at different temperatures, just like glass. All glass isn't recyclable. Now the door open. We're getting closer. She can be in here any moment, ladies. All right, so metal is pretty easy. Metal food and drink cans. Paper, it's just cardboard, paper, magazines, but no cardboard that holds a liquid. And then metal food and drink cans. Plastic is the sad one. Oh, somebody said we rinse and reuse our aluminum foil. That's a great way to reduce. So I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle. And we talk a lot about that. We've kind of stopped, Macy and I have kind of stopped using that one as much because I think the message that I used to take from it and the message that most people take is reduce, reuse, recycle. And really, they're in order of importance, and reducing is the first part. So if you can rinse and reuse something, even better, because that's the second, right? Reuse something. And metal anyways, like if plastic gets out into the environment, it is going to break apart into smaller and smaller pieces into microplastics. Paper is not going to do that. Aluminum, metal is not going to do that. So they're not going to harm the environment the way that plastic is harming the environment. Okay, so, oh my gosh, she made a sign. My iPad and charger. Can I use your phone? No. Her iPad's dead, you guys. Oh my gosh. Life is really rough. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so plastic is where it gets hard. And there's a lot of questions around plastic. First, what we want is the size and the shape. So the size has to be bigger than a single-use yogurt container. So if you think about like a Yoplait or a Chobani kind of one-use container, that's the size. If it's that size or smaller, so like a smaller prescription bottle, like makeup stuff, there's a lot of small plastics. That will not be something that can be recycled. So at the MRF, at the recycling center, what happens is all the paper floats on top. I kind of explained that, and all the cartons all fall down. So there's these cracks that are kind of made to have. So things are falling through. Well, the point of some of those cracks is that glass falls and breaks and shatters, but they want it to fall and break because if you think about like transporting 100 like bottles, that's a lot of space, but if you break it and crush it, then it's not as much space. So all of it falls through. Well, what happens is every single teeny tiny small thing that ends up in the recycling and a lot of it's garbage, falls through those cracks, and they all end up in the glass pile. So we do tours of our recycling center. And if you ever came to the recycling center, almost nobody guesses the pile right. When we get to the pile of glass, we ask, what do you think this pile is? And everybody usually says garbage. Sometimes they say compost because it's giving off steam and it looks like it's decomposing, but it's glass. And so it's just everything, tops to cans, all those tiny little plastics, anything. Easter's coming up, all the little Easter eggs are going to be in there soon. So everything is in that pile. So it has to be bigger than the yogurt container. Then it has a certain shape. So plastic, we only recycle bottles, tubs, and jugs. So let's go over what a bottle, tub, and jug is. So a bottle, kind of your standard bottle, right? This is the Coke bottle, a water bottle. We're going to throw in our shampoo, soap, all of the kinds of things in the kitchen. So like ketchup and mustard and peanut butter, all of those kinds of things are also going to be recyclable. Peanut butter is kind of a hard one because I soak it overnight, like once I'm done with it. We like to say that if you don't want to smell or touch it after 2 weeks, neither do the people at the recycling center, right? Like imagine having a mayonnaise jar sitting out in the sun for 2 weeks and then you just have to like smell it. It's a hard pass for me. So there are people who work at the recycling center and their job is to stare at a conveyor belt all day long and it's going by and they're pulling off all of the things that shouldn't be there. So all the plastic bags, diapers, garbage, anything and everything they will find at the recycling center. So all of those things need to just not go in there, right? Then we have garbage cans too, but a lot of people like to use a recycling can as garbage. So bottles are going to be all those kinds of things. They usually have a smaller neck than body, from what I've been told. Now, we got a lot of questions about the tops. Can tops stay on? Tops can stay on if they screw on. So they screw on and you can't just pull it off, then it can stay on, okay? But if they get separated, okay, these have been fighting recently, they've decided they're gonna separate, go their own way. If this gets separated, this is smaller than a single-use yogurt container. So then this would have to be thrown away if it's by itself. But if it's married or dating, they're gonna stay together. Okay, because if you step on it, if you squish it, it's not going to pop off, right? There's a lot of moving parts. Think about the recycling trucks coming and pouring everything in. They're kind of getting compressed and they get pushed out. It's a whole thing. So we're going to keep those on. On that note, I forgot, we get this question a lot too. Cans. Now, if you can keep the top attached, what we do is we crimp it in, like we push it inside and then try to crimp this a little bit. You squeeze it so it can't fall out, then you can recycle it. There are some cans that are absolutely impossible to crimp. And in that case, I just make sure it's attached and hope for the best. But all of those lids, there's hundreds of thousands probably of lids in the glass pile. So people just recycle those, but they're just too small and they just can't make it. So if you can leave the lid attached to the food cans and crimp it in, we say yes. So we want to keep our lid attached. So bottles. The next one is a tub. So a tub, this one is ricotta cheese. So tubs are also like sour cream, butter, Cool Whip, all sorts of things. Large yogurts. So I went from eating the single-use yogurts to like the tubs of yogurt because I still wanted to eat yogurt, but I felt bad about throwing away the little ones. So I moved to vanilla yogurt and now I use a big tub. So those can be recycled. Now the top on these ones are a pull off top, it's pop off. Now a pop off top, you're going to take off and you're going to throw it away because they're not in a serious relationship. They're not married like this one, okay? Like the bottom. They're just like casually dating. So it's going to pop off and it's going to fall off, right? So in the whole process, I can't stomp on this and keep this lid on. So we kind of broke this the other day on our demonstration, but usually we pop it and it pops off. And so that's the thing, pops off, take it off. Some milk jugs are like that, where the top just pops off and on. So you would throw that away. But if it's a screw on, again, any plastic that has a screw on top can stay on. But if it pops off, you got to take it off. Also the lids, if they're in this form and they don't fall through the cracks, they're a 2D product basically. So what they're going to do is they're going to go and float, unfortunately, and get sorted with the paper. And then that makes people who buy paper not happy, because if you were going to go buy a bale of paper for $100 and 20% of it is contamination, then you're out $20, right? So you're not going to be happy. So trying to keep our recycling nice and clean also helps the price of it go up. All right, so we have our bottles, our tubs, and lastly, our jugs. Jugs are the easiest one because they have a handle. So there's no question what a jug is. So this one, again, most jugs have a screw on top, so you can screw that off and on. Normally our jugs are going to be milk and like laundry detergent. Those are the biggest things. This was the smallest jug I could find with a handle, so it's plant food. So bottles, tubs, and jugs. That is it when it comes to plastic. So if you have anything else that is not a bottle, it is not a tub, and it is not a jug, it is not recyclable. Any weird plastic, anything, any plastic, I mean, it's so much more plastic than you think. So two of our most commonly recycled things, and you guys, this one really hurt me when I found out. I didn't find out about this until I started working with the city. So I've been recycling them the whole time. But I'm from California. And in California, our strawberry season goes for like 6 months. And here it's like 6 weeks, which really hurts me because I really love strawberries. It's not a healthy relationship. I love them so much. So these little clamshells are like the bane of my existence while I've been living here, because there's no way to get around them if you want berries, unless it's strawberry season and you want to drive out to Red Farm, which I do multiple times a week during strawberry season, all the time, and get the reusable bucket. But these, we call these clamshells because they kind of look like a little clam. So these are just not as good of a plastic, right? So if you're gonna take this shampoo bottle and squeeze it, right, it doesn't make any sound. It's hard to squeeze. This hurts my hand. And then you take this, right, it makes noise, super easy. If you have this long enough, it's gonna splinter. It's just not a good quality of plastic. So this, unfortunately, along with spinach containers, to-go containers, all of that is not going to be recyclable. It makes it worse when it has their little recycling symbol on the bottom, because it does. It has the recycling symbol. So we are not looking at recycling symbols at all. Okay, we're looking for the size and the shape of something, especially when it comes to plastic, or when it comes to plastic. So all of these kinds of things are a no. And there's really no way around them. If you want to eat berries of any kind or have spinach, sometimes spinach comes in a bag or like salad kind of stuff. But when it comes to berries, these are the go-to. Or like tomato containers. I have found cardboard tomato containers and strawberry containers as well. So I had to buy them. They were much more expensive, but I thought it was worth it for that. So that's just a really hard one to get around. The next one, this little top fits on here, but any cup, doesn't matter what kind of cup it is, styrofoam cup, paper cup, plastic cup, nothing is recyclable. So the cup is not recyclable, lids are not recyclable, straws are not recyclable, right? These are not a bottle, a tub, or a jug. This is not a bottle, a tub, or a jug. This is a cup. Ask me what the difference between a tub and a cup is, and I'm really not sure. I'm going to tell you, we have been debating this the entire time, but we do know what a cup is and what we drink out of. So all cups are not recyclable. They are made out of a different type of plastic. And it's just one of the ones that they don't want to recycle. Those are really the two biggest things in recycling when it comes to plastic that we get. Again, we just want to try to reduce as much as we can. I don't know if any of you guys have eaten at Jason's Deli, but I bring my own cups when I go there. If you go to like a takeout kind of restaurant or fast food and you can fill up your own cup, you can bring your own cup. And so I went with my daughter yesterday. She made the softball team. I was really proud of her. She wanted me to pick her up early and take her to lunch. So I did, because I was a sucker. And we went to lunch, and the girl but I just had come straight from work, and she was like, "Oh, did you bring your own cups?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't, because I wasn't planning on coming here." But she knew me because I always bring my own cups when I go, and I bring my own silverware when I go places that I know has like plastic silverware. So it's a hard habit to get into, but we try to tell people, the best way, what we can do to really help the environment is to reduce the amount of plastic, especially that we're using. But really the best way to do that is to try something new every single month. When you try to just go in and reduce everything all at once, it's just overwhelming and it's not going to work. And some things work for people and some things don't. So I, in the last couple of years, had given up Ziploc bags. I thought that was going to be the hardest thing of my life. So I just decided, okay, this is like the last box. We'll see how long it lasts. And I just slowly, it wasn't as hard as I thought. I mean, I was like sweating over this. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to survive without Ziploc bags? And it's amazing, but I have easily survived without Ziploc bags. But that was a big one for me. I have tried a safety razor for shaving, and that's a metal, it's just all metal, and then you put in the razors yourself. It worked for a while, and then I don't know if I just got lazy, but I started like butchering myself, and I was like, okay, I have scars from it, same spot every time. And then I was shaving so slow, I was wasting water, and so then I was like, well, I don't know if this is helping. So some things have gone back on because it wasn't sustainable for me in my life right now. And other things that I thought were going to be hard weren't as hard. So yeah, that's the lowdown on plastic and paper and all recycling, all things recyclable. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, I can't, you're muted.
Ashley, what do you use instead of Ziploc bags?
I use like Tupperware and glass containers. I usually find that when I have to send something home with somebody, they usually bring it back. And so I've just gotten to that point where I haven't needed it. And with younger kids, I thought it was going to be really hard. But it really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And COVID, I think, put everybody back a little bit. I actually used to bring my own to the grocery store. They wouldn't let me do this for a while. I think they'd probably let me do it again. But when I went and got deli meat sliced, I would bring my own like glass container, and they would just hand me the meat on like the little piece of paper that they do, and I'd have to put it in there myself, and then I put the sticker on top. But I really liked doing that. That was something that made me feel really good. But we haven't been eating a lot of deli meat lately. I think I over sandwiched my children, so they're like anti sliced turkey. But yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about glass? Because I know a lot of people think there is no glass recycling, and that's not true.
Yes. I skipped a whole thing. It was over here. It was not in front of me. I'm getting over being sick, so I don't know if I have the best memory at this moment. Okay, so just kidding. Backing, tracking. So first thing are the plastic bags. So we have 4 things that we call extra step recycling. And that means that you have to go out of your way to do these recyclable things. However, things can be recycled. They just can't be recycled at home, in our curb at Greensboro. So the first is the plastic bag. Also want to mention with the plastic bags is that we do not ever want any of your recyclables in a plastic bag. If you have a full, beautiful bag of cans or whatever, and you tie it up and you put it in your recycling, it's going to go straight to the garbage. It's going to take a trip to the recycling center. Then it's going to go to the landfill. They are not allowed to open up any of the plastic bags that come, even if they can tell what's inside. People have been injured. Somebody opened up a bag and somehow ink got on them, like went on their face and burned them. And so it is a hard no. So anytime you see a bagged recycling, it's just going to go straight to the garbage. And plastic bags are a tangler, so they don't keep their shape. So they can wrap around the machinery, and it causes a big problem at the recycling center as well. But the good news is that you can take your plastic bags back to the grocery store, Target, Harris Teeter, Food Lion, Walmart. Almost all of them have a plastic bag return outside. It's like right before you get into the store, or like right where the carts are. It says plastic. I used to think it was for like plastic bottles, but I was mistaken. And not only can you bring your plastic bags, you can bring bubble wrap in there. You can bring like the plastic, like Amazon, like those kind of bags that come through. Bread bags, produce bags, also from the grocery store. You can also have like the overwrap from like your toilet paper, your paper towels, if you buy bottled water, all of those things. And the thing that we try to tell people is that if you can take it and let's see where you can kind of see me. If you can push your thumb and it kind of molds to your thumb, then you can take it to the recycling. It's like flexible plastic, but like cereal bags, you push your thumb and it won't go anywhere. Or like food bags, chip bags, those aren't the same sort of thing. So clean, dry, Ziploc bags can go there too. And what they do is they make a decking out of it. They like chop it and they mix it with sawdust, and then they make this decking called Trex that lasts for like 30 years. So it's getting reused at least into something. So that was plastic, bags. Then we've got our Big Daddy glass. So glass was taken out of our recycling in Greensboro in 2019, right before I started, and everybody was very angry. I was one of the people who was really mad about this because glass as well is infinitely recyclable. So it's a product that I go out of my way to buy. If there is something that is in a glass jar, I will buy that instead of the plastic anytime. And it is just going to be like like bottles, it can't be like a light bulb or a mirror. It's just bottles. So like this is a bottle, this had vitamins in it, but you can't do like mirrors and all that kind of stuff. So what we want is we want them empty. We want no top on them. And we have 19 drop-off sites around the city that we have opened up. We increased it a couple years ago. So that you can recycle your glass. What we do is the city collects that glass, we take it to the landfill, and we have like a little bunker area for it. And then when we have enough glass, we transport it up to Wilson, North Carolina, and then that's made into Mount Olive pickle jars and like Anheuser-Busch bottles, and then other breweries will use the products from that as well. So the glass recycling at the MRF was just so bad that normally if they have like a whole thing of cans, somebody will pay and take the cans. At the recycling center, what is happening is that it's so contaminated that they have to pay somebody to take it. So they're not making any money on it because it looks just like straight up garbage, and it just takes a lot more work to separate the garbage out. So glass is recyclable. And our program's doing really well. Our glass is in like the 98th percentile, like clean. So it's doing really well. We're not making money on it. We're really just trying to break even on it because it is an expensive thing to like pick up and then hold and then transport. But it's doing really well. And we've had a good reaction from the community because people were very angry about the glass. Like I said, I was one of them. So glass is still recyclable. You just have to take it somewhere. And then styrofoam too. If anybody has seen tiny homes of Greensboro, they accept clean, dry styrofoam, just not flexible styrofoam. So like it's like bendy and like flippy floppy. You usually get that in bags and stuff or in boxes. But they'll take this and they make it into picture frames and crown molding. Did you have a question, Lucia?
Yes, I'm just wondering why, if there are so many things that are marked as recyclable, but they're not, and there are so many things that you have to do, and we worked at the recycling center in one of our field trips several years ago, so we pretty much know, I have an idea of what it looks like. I wonder, why don't we separate like putting all just picking up glass and metal, that's it. Don't ask for anything else but glass and metal. That way you will have the glass there, and will have the metal and the cardboard. Okay, three items in 3 different boxes.
Yeah.
Instead of having that big thing to take and with a bunch of stuff in there that is not going to be useful.
Yeah, I understand. So places where they have had to separate their recycling seem to do it better. So we have only had single stream recycling, it's called, where everything gets put into the same pot, and we don't have separate containers, because then you don't really learn how to recycle correctly, right? It's just, oh, it has a recycle sign, let's put it in there. And so that is a big problem. I'm not quite sure why we do it the way that we do it. I'm sure it has to do with money. The MRF obviously wants as many things as it can get, because it's going to make more money that way. We don't own our own recycling center, so we contract it out with Republic. But I do know that places that have had single stream, or not, I don't know what the opposite of single, many stream, I don't know, that do actually separate and pick up separate, do have a better contamination rate. Our contamination rate is like 33 or 32%. And so about a third of what people are putting into the recycling carts is actually not recyclable. I don't know if that really answered the question, but because I don't really know why we don't do it that way. I think it's just an easy thing to do.
Okay.
Trudy, I
Guess
know
we
you
have
had
to
a lot of questions. You need to unmute yourself. Trudy, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, thank you. I have a question. I live in Summerfield with Republic Services, and how come we can recycle glass?
In my honest opinion, it's because they can't take it out without an uproar, and so they still accept it. For us, because we have a contract, they can take it out, so glass is still getting recycled. Honestly, if you put it in your cart, it's going to end up in the same pile as the stuff that we get from Summerfield, because they're bringing their stuff here. But it costs the city and our taxes a lot more money, because it costs over $90 a ton to recycle. So that glass is the heaviest, and because it's so contaminated, Republic took it out of ours. But it would be real bad and look really bad if they take it out of theirs. That's my personal
That's your
opinion.
personal opinion. Also, could you reiterate that aluminum pie pans aren't, all the aluminum containers are not recyclable? Is that correct?
Yes. So the aluminum pie tins and aluminum foil are not recyclable. They are not, they don't melt at the same temperature as an aluminum can. So when it comes to metal products, we want food grade, right? So they don't sell usually like a lot of stuff in these pie tins. You usually cook with it. So that's just the quality that they want, is food grade.
How are you going to handle educating the public how to recycle so that we don't contaminate the recycling?
Well, I wish there was a lot more of us. So our biggest thing that we're doing right now, like we come to any program like this that we can, we're always at schools. Can I help you with something? You just want to stand in here? I'll be done when I'm done. But I love you. So one of the big programs that we're doing right now, 2 years ago, we had to have our first audit. So with our contract with Republic, we come once a year, we contract somebody, they come and they pull a sample of recycling from a random routes that we have. So I forget how many routes we have, but we do about 60 samples, I think. So we literally take a sample, like a huge claw of that recycling, and sort every single thing out. So we know how much we're getting that is actually recyclable, how much is garbage, what is our biggest contamination. By far our biggest contamination are plastic bags. And so what we did with that information, we took the top dirtiest of the routes that we sampled. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the top dirtiest ones in Greensboro, but they are the top dirty ones that of the ones that we sampled. And we're going out every month, we pick a route that we focus in on. And what we're doing is we are actually looking in everybody's carts and judging them. It's the one time that I say you can judge your neighbor. And we're looking in the carts and we leave them a sticker. And there's 3 stickers. There's a thank you sticker, like you're doing a good job. Thank you. It can also say like, thank you. We did find a little bit of contamination. Usually those ones are like clamshells, aluminum foil, napkins, or paper towels, like some of the things that the ones that I showed you today.
Mhm.
But they're people who want to do a good job, but they just don't know
No, that's right.
that something isn't recyclable. You don't know what you don't know. I'm like, yeah, now people know. Then we have an oops sticker that's like, oops, you have multiple things. So you might have aluminum and some carton in there, like some pans and some napkins and some carton. So that's like 3 different types of material. Then we leave an oops. We usually can, if it's more than 50% garbage, we will skip their cart. We leave a red sticker on it and we're like, we're not picking this up today. You need to fix this. And then if they get 4 of those, if you get 4 stickers in 6 months, then we will take your card away.
Oh.
You can get it back, but you have to come and get a whole cart, like we talked to you about it. And
Mhm.
So that's one of the biggest things that we have seen helping. We have seen a drastic, like the first time we tag that neighborhood to the second time that we tag that neighborhood, there is a difference in the amount of like oops and skips that we have. And we have somebody that's their job full time, as they go around and try to look in as many cans as they can throughout the whole year. We have found that that's just the easiest way, the best way, because it gives you information right there at your house
Yeah.
instead of having to do classes like this.
Mhm.
And it's hard. Recycling changes all the time. There's really only 2 of us, me and my coworker Macy, who actually go and do classes like this. And so then it's really, we're trying to make you stewards, and then you trying to tell people too, like, hey, I took a class and you can't recycle that. And I wish we could do more. I mean, I guess if we got more and more requests and more education that we could do, then we would could hire more people. But it's just it's a hard thing to try to get people interested and educate them.
Ashley, I live in a townhome development, and we have the big blue containers that one for trash, one for recycling. And I think Republic, I'm trying to remember now, they have a little signage on those big blue containers. But we could use something, I think, larger and brighter. Does Republic do any of that, provide the signage? I know
Does
Republic, they pick up the containers, or they empty the containers?
Are you asking if Republic does that, or if we do that?
I'm asking if Republic has signage, or do you have signage?
So If you have a blue container, you must be serviced by Republic. We don't have any blue containers in the city of
Yeah.
Greensboro,
Yeah.
unless it's Republic, because they do service places in Greensboro. So Republic, if they don't have anything on there, then they don't. For Republic with the city, we are responsible. They are not responsible, right? They could
Okay.
tell us we don't want your recycling anymore. So it's up to us to try to figure out how to clean up the recycling that we're getting. And with our tagging, well, we're contributing it to our tagging. Our recycling, the contamination was around 36%, and now it's 32, 33%. So from the last audit, we're getting ready. We're gearing up to do our next audit in April. So we're hoping that that contamination level goes down even more.
Yeah.
But we are trying. We have some things in mind, but it's hard with like putting stuff on the cans because it changes. So sometimes we'll go around tagging and
Yeah.
you'll see we have these, they must have put stickers on some of the carts a long time ago, but it says like aerosol cans, pots and pans, and different things that you can't recycle now. And so they changed it. And a lot of that big shift in recycling was in 2019 when China was like, we are no longer accepting your recycling. Recycling. So because we were sending them a lot of garbage, we were sending them all the things that you can't actually recycle, and we were putting that on them instead of taking our accountability for our garbage and our recycling. And so when they stopped that, now we're trying to build an infrastructure of recycling here in the United States. So it's just, I think more things will come out as we recycle properly and we make it worthwhile, and we support companies that use recycled products. Yep. Catherine.
Okay. You may not have the answer to this. One of the things that I did a couple years ago was begin using silicone bags that you have to, you know, purchase things. They are unbelievably expensive. And it's like, I know I'm getting these stasher bags now.
Yes, those are really, those are a hardy one.
I love them. I absolutely love them, except for the price. And it's like the starter little thing of several different kinds of bags. I think it's maybe 6 bags is like $98. Why? I mean, it seems like if it would be a little more reasonable, more people would go to them.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know why the stashers are so expensive. I do know that they are better than anything else that I have bought. I have bought multiple like Ziploc bag kind of replacements. I have the fabric ones. I don't like those. They usually tend to smell or make the food smell that you have. I've had like I call it chintzy, like a cheaper, like plasticky, reusable bag, and that breaks. And the stashers are just, I think, because they're just a really good quality, I think they're going to last a really long time. And really, honestly, anything environmental is more expensive just because it's just not, I think if more people buy it and it's more, you know, popular, they can probably reduce their prices. But I really don't know why it's so expensive, other than that they're really good. I marinate my meat in a very specific one. I have it. It's like my marinating station, and I'm like, oh, it won't come out of that sucker once it's closed up. It's real good.
Yeah.
How clean do things need to be? My husband and I get into a dispute about that.
Yes,
So
I hear a lot of
help us.
Yes, a lot of married couples we have found in our programs get into a lot of arguments about how clean things need to be. I usually talk about my husband a lot in my program. I haven't today. Usually I throw him under the bus a couple times. We just a nice rinse out. I mean, like if it's a shampoo bottle, I'm not rinsing this out, right? It's got soap in it already. That's not a big deal. But like if you've got a can of beans, like just rinse it out. Or like I feel like mayonnaise and you know, ketchup, all that kind of stuff. Just put some water in there, shake it, and try to get it out. It doesn't have to be like scrubbed clean. But I mean, it gets pretty funky, and then stuff grows, and then it can contaminate things. So just a nice little rinse out. If it's like a soda bottle and I'm done drinking it, I don't rinse out the soda bottle. Like it's clean enough, you know. It's just like that heavier food to me, so that needs to be rinsed out.
And the screw tops sometimes need to be rinsed.
Yeah, sometimes they can be rinsed. There are some that I have found that needs to be rinsed a little bit more. So then just a nice little rinse off, but you don't need to, like, I've had people who are like, I clean it and I dry it and it's like perfect. And I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, you can do that. I'm not going to stop you from doing it. Like, you're going above and beyond, and I'm sure they really appreciate it, but it's not necessary. So just a nice little clean.
Thank you.
It reminded me that I get Jiffy peanut butter. The cap has it looks like aluminum coated piece of lightweight cardboard on the inside of it. And I think Palante ice cream does as well. I take that out and screw the top back on the jar after I've cleaned it and recycle it.
Yeah, yeah, you could take that out. I'm sure that that's not enough contamination for anybody to raise
that's good.
alarm.
And some of the cans, food cans, and I'm thinking particularly, I think of Green Giant corn, they have a lining in, or coating is what it is, inside the can. Is there a problem? Just
Is it white? Somebody asked us about this the other day.
yeah, it
We
usually
think
is.
we think it's fine. We've never heard anything about it. As far as we know, all cans are recyclable.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah. I wonder what the liner is. I'm very interested in this. I haven't seen it, so now I'm like, I need
Yeah.
to get it.
It's a coating. I think they spray
Yeah.
on it. It looks kind of silicone-y.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I think we came to the conclusion the other day that somebody asked us just this last week about that, and that was the first time I'd heard of it, and we came to the conclusion that we think it's recyclable.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Till I hear otherwise.
As far as the grocery stores and plastic, do they contract with their own recycle company, like Harris Teeter? Would they have their own contract with somebody?
I'm assuming that they do have their own contract with somebody, but
It's
most of
really-
it I think goes to Trex. I don't know if they have other companies who are making this plasticky wood. I'm sure that there are, so they must have some sort of contract.
So what's the name of it? Trax?
Trex, Trex.
Okay.
And it looks like wood. It's like a plasticky wood. You'll notice that like in parks, a lot of benches are being made with it, or like outdoor tables, because it doesn't rot and
Right.
you know.
Right. Well, I have learned so much that I didn't know, so I think we did.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad. I'm really glad that I got to be here. We started talking, we did go off a little bit really fast, but I did want to mention that because somebody said extra step, plastic bags, glass, and styrofoam, but there is one extra one, and that was HHW, so household hazardous waste. Just real quick, that's going to be like aerosol cans, anything that's under your sink, any sort of chemical. We don't want it, batteries, small electronics. We don't want that going to the landfill, especially some of that stuff. Other things can be like the kids pop this because it's a popping hazard. They'll pop it, depressurize it, and then they can recycle this. So all your aerosol cans, you can save and take over to household hazardous waste as well. I forgot to mention that one because we started going off on all the other ones.
Okay, any last minute question, burning question? I guess not. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank
Much
you, everybody.
appreciated.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you very
Ashley.
much.
And thank everybody for coming tonight.
Very
You're welcome.
informative.
Okay.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye,
See you
everybody.
next time.